Hello everyone, in this video we're going to look at how to do calculations with bounds, and it's going to be a short video I hope, and it's going to lead us on to those tricky exam questions which I mentioned earlier on. We're going to look at the four basic operations: adding, taking away, dividing, timesing, and we'll look at how it works with bounds. So let's get into it right now. We have these two numbers here which were rounded to the nearest unit, or you can think about nearest whole number. So A is roughly 12, B is roughly 8. We don't actually know what A and B exactly are, but they were numbers which were rounded to 12 and 8. So first of all, before I do anything, let's look at what the upper and lower bound are. So 1 unit, or kind of like one second significant figure in this case, or first significant figure, 1 unit divided by 2 is 0.5. So remember how that works. So A, its upper bound is 12.5 and its lower bound is 11.5. Okay, and then for B, it would be 8.5 and 7.5. So these are the upper and lower bounds for A and B. Now, before I do any question related to bounds, this is what I would do first. Now, we'll look at the four main operations really: adding, taking away, divide, and times. I've put them into two separate groups, so I'm going to put a dividing line, and you'll see why in a minute. So I've got adding on this side and multiplying on this side, take away and divide on this side, and you'll see why in a minute. Now, what I want to do is I want to find out what the largest and smallest value you could get for when you add A or B together. So what I mean by that is we don't know what A and B equals. We don't actually know what they equal. All we know is that they were rounded to 12 and 8, and these are the upper and lower bounds. Now, it's really common sense if you think about it. What's the largest value you could get for A and B if you add them together? Well, you would just add the upper bounds together, right? So you take 12.5 and you add 8.5 to it, and you would get 21. So this would be the upper bound for A and B, if you think about it. So the largest outcome, just remember what we're doing. We don't know what A and B exactly are, but this is the largest A could be, and this is the largest B could be. So the largest value for A plus B would be those two added together. And then that would be the same for if you want to work out the lowest value, you just add these two together, right? So you take 11.5 and add 7.5. So you'd get 19. So this would be the lowest possible answer you could get for A and B. Okay, so it's common sense. So when you're adding things, it's, you add the upper bounds, and that's the largest possible addition you could get. And if you add the lower bounds, that's the lowest possible addition you can get. Now, what about A times B? Well, it's kind of the same, isn't it, really? A times B, you'd kind of multiply the top two, wouldn't you, really? So if you want a largest multiplication, so 12.5 times 8.5, that would be 106.25. would be the largest multiplication of A and B possible, and then the lowest one you'd have to multiply the bottom two, and that would be 86.25. So when we're talking about addition and multiplication, it's a bit of common sense really. So if you want to work out the upper and lower bounds for when you're adding A and B, you just kind of add the lower and upper bounds, or add the lower. Yeah, so you add the upper and lower bounds consecutively like that. Or if you want to work out the largest multiplication, you just multiply the upper bounds. That's the largest possible multiplication. Or you multiply the lower bounds, and that's the lowest possible multiplication. But this is where it gets confusing, and it's a bit counterintuitive. And you need to try and get your head around it, but for take away and divide, it's not quite the same. And you'll see why in a second. Okay, so let's do A take away B first. Now I want to find the maximum possible answer for A take away B. So what's the largest possible number I can get? Now, I'm just going to tell you what it is. Because I'm doing A take away B, you have to take the upper bound of A and then subtract the lower bound. No, I've done the wrong thing there. It's supposed to be 7.5. Sorry, 7.5. So you take away the lower bound, which is supposed to be 7.5. 7.5, sorry. Okay. So that is the largest possible subtraction, whatever that works out to, which is 5, isn't it, really? Okay, so this is the largest possible answer you could get if you took A away from B. Now you need to think about that, and it's kind of obvious if you really do think about it, because what we want to do is we want to start with A and we want to subtract the smallest possible number to get the largest possible outcome. So you start with the largest value of A and you take away the smallest possible value of B, and that's going to give you the furthest kind of gap between A and B, if you think about it, really. I mean, remember, subtraction is about working out technically how far apart these two numbers are. So the furthest number for A, and there's kind of like, you know, the smallest number for B, that's going to give you the largest possible outcome. Okay, so it's kind of counterintuitive, so you kind of have to do this kind of like crisscross thing. So you want to do the largest value of B, take away the smallest value of, largest value of A, take away the smallest value of B, and that is your upper bound, for A takeaway B. Now, it's kind of the same for working out the lower bound. So if I want to work out the lowest possible answer, I would start with the smallest possible value for A and then subtract the largest possible value for B. So I'd have to do 11.5 take away 8.5. So that would give me 3. So this is the smallest possible outcome for A minus B. And again, if you think about it, I mean, like it's best if you do it on a number line. I'll tell you what, I'll draw the number line now. Okay, so here's the two kind of upper and lower bounds done on a number line. It's a bit rough, it's not accurate, but I've included 0 so you can sort of get a bit of perspective. But if we take the upper bound of A and take away the lower bound of B, then you can see that we get this larger distance here. And that's what this number is here, because we want to find out the biggest kind of possible difference. Well, the biggest possible difference between them is from here to here. So that's why if you do the upper, take away the lower, that's the biggest kind of possible difference. And the same thing is if you kind of take away the lower away from the upper of the other one, you get this shortest possible distance in the middle. So that's kind of like what's going on, really. It's kind of working out the gap between where they are on the number line, really. And it's kind of like this crisscrossy thing, and I hope that kind of makes sense. So for when you're taking away, it's kind of counterintuitive. So if you want to find the upper bound, you want to do the highest, take away the lowest, like this. And if you want to find the lower bound, you want to do the lowest, take away the highest, like this. Now, it's the same thing with division. So let me clear this first. It's sort of the same thing with division. So if I want to find the highest possible answer for A divided by B, then I want to start with the biggest number for A. So it's going to be biggest number for A divided by the smallest number for B. And it kind of makes sense because you're taking a large number and chop it up into smaller bits, so you've got kind of a larger number as the outcome. So if I do that on a calculator, I get 1.6 recurring, or 1 2/3. And if you want to find the lower bound for A divided by B, you want to start with the smallest number for A and then divide it by the biggest number for B, because if you think about it, that's going to give you a smaller outcome. So that on the calculator is 1.3529 blah 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 blah, but that is your lower bound. Now the thing is that you can test this for yourself. you're not going to get any number smaller than that or bigger than this one. So any other combination is not going to give you anything bigger than that one or smaller than that one. That is the largest possible division you can get, and that is the smallest possible division if you do A divided by B. So what I want you to take away from this kind of video is the following. Is for addition and multiplication, it's straightforward. It's upper add upper and lower add lower. And then for multiplication it's the same. It's upper times upper and lower times lower. But for subtraction it's different. If you want the upper bound, it's upper take away the lower of the other, and then it's lower take away the upper. So it's kind of like that crisscross we had going on. And then it's the same for division as well. It's that crisscross as well. So I hope that kind of clarifies things. So what I would like you to do is have a go at the worksheet attached, and the answers are included as well. Okay, thank you very much for watching, guys. I'm sorry for it taking so long, but now have a go at the questions and then mark it the answers are attached.